Today from r/LetsNotMeet. I'm currently a 21-year-old female, and this happened to me about 6 years ago when I was about 15 years old. I live in a relatively small town where everyone knows everyone. For reference, there was about 120 kids in my graduating class in high school. The town is so small that there's not a lot of ground to cover, so it wasn't unusual for parents to let their teenagers wander around outside with their friends. My friend from a different town had come over to my house because we were going to see my school's musical later that night, and we decided to go wander around until it was time to go. She was from a different town, so she was unfamiliar with the area. I suggested we go down to my local train tracks because there was a cool cliff/overpass type thing. You can sit and watch the river. I had been on the train tracks with my friends many times before, and people my age used to hang out there all the time. This was sometime in early March, so it was still quite cold where I lived. Even though it was chilly, I remember distinctly that I wore flip-flops for some reason. This will be important later. The train tracks intersected a street in my town, which was quite close to my house. So this is where we entered the tracks. We were walking and spotted a middle-aged man who was alone on the phone. We thought nothing of it and kept walking. We made it to the overpass and were sitting there just hanging out when we noticed the man we had passed earlier was slowly inching closer and closer. We both noticed this, but decided not to panic, since it's possible he was slowly making his way down the tracks. Maybe 5 minutes had passed, and the man was getting increasingly closer and closer to us. At this point, we noticed he was getting closer to us at an alarming rate. He's not continuously in motion. It's more like we notice him standing still doing whatever, and then a minute later, he's standing even closer to us than he was prior. Now, he was close enough where we can clearly make him out. He's within an earshot and could easily get us if that was his goal. My friend and I are starting to get nervous. We're two teenage girls in the middle of essentially the woods, with no one around us, other than this creepy man. I watched a lot of investigation Discovery in my day, so I think it's best to just try to promptly make my way out of there without creating chaos. I decided it would be a good idea to pull out my phone and pretend to talk to my mother as we began walking back to the main road. My friend and I are calmly walking down the tracks while I have the phone up to my ear, and I'm saying things like, "Yeah, we're at the tracks. We're on our way home." Just making stuff up, so this guy thinks my mom is aware of my exact location. There is a point where we have to walk directly past the man in order to make it to our destination. It's at this point where he opens his mouth and says clear as day, "I know you're not on the phone." At this point, my fight or flight kicks in, and I'm terrified. Up until this moment, the creepy man had not directly said or done anything to make us think he was a direct threat. The situation was uncomfortable enough that my friend and I thought we'd better head out. When the man said these words to me, I quickly realized that the perceived threat was both real and dangerous. As soon as my brain registered what he said, my friend and I both ran for our lives. I was never one to enjoy physical activity, let alone running, but I could have won an Olympic medal that day. I ran so fast my flip-flops broke, and I ended up running barefoot on the gravel that lined the tracks. I was so scared that if I looked back I would see him running after me, so I didn't. When I finally began running out of steam, I quickly looked back and saw the man standing right where we had left him. He didn't run after us, but I couldn't shake the fear of turning around and seeing him chasing me. When we finally made it to the main road, I quickly called my mom and told her what happened. She was conveniently driving down the exact road we were on and pulled up about 2 minutes later and took us home. My friend and I had never been so scared in our lives. I haven't been to those train tracks since, and to this day, I still think about the man who knew I wasn't on the phone and what his intentions were that day. So to the man on the train tracks, let's not meet again.